Welcome to this presentation of Basic Resume Writing presented by CareerSource Southwest Florida. You might be wondering why you should write a resume in the first place. After all, don't most companies expect you to fill out an application anyway? The answer is twofold. While you will often be expected to fill out an application in addition to providing a resume for many jobs, most professional positions will expect both a resume and cover letter. However, having a top-notch resume to go alongside a standard application makes you look more professional, will help you stand out amongst other candidates, and could even open the doors to a better position than you were expecting. Even if you don't have a lot of practical on-the-job experience, more than likely you have enough related and even some seemingly non-related experience that can be used to spice up your resume. In today's job market, the resume has become the #1 requirement potential employers request. Before an employer will take valuable time to interview you, he or she wants to meet you on paper. How you impress that employer with your resume can and will make all the difference. Without a resume, you can't even begin to compete, and an incomplete resume will quickly eliminate you before you even have a fighting chance. That is why it is imperative to have a superior resume, one that effectively lets employers know what you can do for them. The term resume comes from the French and means a summary. That's exactly what your resume is. It's a summary of your qualifications, skills, and achievements. It shows a future employer what you have done in the past. It details your skills and training, work experience and education, and most importantly, the accomplishments you have made with past employers. It should also inform the employer of your career objective or the job you are seeking and communicate in a concise manner the benefits you will bring to the job if hired. A resume is an advertisement. It advertises you, your unique skills and qualifications, and it stresses the benefits you have to offer. A resume should be as concise as possible. Typically, a resume is 1 page long, although sometimes it can be as long as 2 pages. Resumes often include bulleted lists to keep information concise. Resumes come in a few types, including chronological, functional, and combination formats. Select a format that best fits the type of job you are applying for. We will discuss these 3 common formats further along in this presentation. A resume, simply put, is a marketing plan. Think of yourself as an ad agency and you have been given a product to sell. The product is you. How would you market yourself to the company? This involves more than just listing jobs on a piece of paper. Think in terms of what value and skills you have that would enhance the company you are applying to. One way to rise above the competition is to make sure that your resume is loaded with employer benefits, not just skills. Today's resumes must be results-driven rather than the skills-driven resumes of the past. By reading your resume, the employer must quickly understand what advantages you offer his or her company. Think of yourself as a product and the employer as the consumer. How would you sell your product or yourself to the employer or consumer? An employer is more interested in the benefits you have to offer than your list of skills. When you write your resume, make every effort to highlight these employer benefits. For example, if you are proficient in PageMaker and desktop publishing, do not just list your skills such as mastery of PageMaker. Translate those skills into benefits. Tell the employer what you are able to do with your desktop publishing skills. For example, ability to produce attractive brochures at a low cost. You have now taken your skill and turned it into a benefit. Skills indicate your potential, while benefits demonstrate your actual accomplishments, what you have achieved with your skills. An employer realizes that many applicants are well versed in PageMaker. Your job is to explain to the employer what you can do with this skill and what kind of job task you have accomplished with PageMaker. This is what impresses employers. Let's discuss what a resume is not. A resume is not a history of your past. It's not a laundry list of past jobs and titles, and it is not going to get you a job offer. The purpose of the resume is to get you an interview. Most people think that a good resume will get them a job. This is a mistake. It is rare in today's market to find an employer who hires anyone solely on what they have read in their resume. Employers want to check you out in person before they hire you. They want you to substantiate your resume and see if you have the personality they are looking for. This, of course, requires an interview. It is actually the interview that ultimately gets you the job, but it is the resume that gets you the interview. In today's market, where many companies utilize resume tracking programs, where a computer selects your resume based on keywords, you must be extra careful to load your resume up with benefits. You not only have to impress the employer today, you must impress his or her computer as well. The purpose of any resume, electronic or otherwise, is simply to get you an interview. How often have you thought, if only I had met with the employer in person, I could have convinced him or her that I was the right person for the job? Your only chance is to compose an impressive resume, one that will get noticed and get you in the door so you can meet the employer in person and get the job. The purpose of your resume is to get actual time with a prospective employer. It should generate interview requests. If it isn't, you may be working harder than your resume, and you may need to tweak it. Your resume describes your qualifications and what makes you unique. There are several reasons to have a resume. It is expected by many employers. It is an effective job search tool. It adds structure to your communication and direction, establishes you as a professional, it's your first impression, and it's an attachment to an application which can tell an employer much more about you. Your resume describes your qualifications and what makes you unique. To stand out among other applicants, you need a resume that markets your strengths and match for the job. A great resume grabs the attention of employers and recruiters, sells your strongest skills and accomplishments, shows how you are a match for a position or project, and most importantly, if done well, gets you the interview. A good resume will help prepare you for the interview. Most employers will use your resume as a guideline when they interview you. They will ask you to explain in detail many of the statements you have made in your resume. It also organizes you. Preparing a resume forces you to assess your skills. This in turn will help you evaluate the many employment options open to you. It will also help you plan an effective job search campaign. It gives you a sense of security. It's a good idea to always have an updated resume on hand. You never know when you will want to seek a better job or just to change. Also, in case you unexpectedly lose your job, it is wise to have your resume updated and ready. It also can be used as a calling card. It's there when you want to conduct informal interviews to test potential opportunities. So what do I put in a resume? Well, there are some standard sections of a resume. Most resumes will include all or some of the above sections. Each resume does need to be tailored to what benefits you have to showcase to the prospective employer. So let's review the sections. The top portion of your resume, the first third to half, tells the reader if the resume is worth reading further. This opening snapshot should entice readers to read more. This usually makes the decision as to whether you will get an interview or not. The header, which is your name and contact information, shows your preferred name and how to contact you. The reader shouldn't have to think about this or wonder what name you go by or how to contact you. Headline and summary. What you're looking for and why you're qualified. It announces your job target and quickly sums up why you're a good candidate. This is usually a stronger section than an objective, which used to be more common. The skills section tells the reader whether you have the required skills. It helps the reader quickly match your skills to the position requirements. Work experience or professional experience or employment history. What you've accomplished that's relevant. It explains what you've achieved that could also benefit the reader's company. The education section, Once again, helps the reader quickly match you to the position to see if you meet the education requirements. Continuing education or professional development or additional training. This shows what further training you've pursued, matches you to job requirements, and also shows initiative and commitment to learning. And finally, other information. What other assets you offer, such as professional memberships, awards, etc., to support and enhance your candidacy. And don't forget to include languages, current licenses, or anything else that is relevant and a benefit to the employer. Do not list licenses that are expired or skills that no longer apply or are outdated. Can your resume pass the SCAN test? If you have turned in a resume, it's important that you make the best of it. Your resume should grab the attention of your potential employer quickly. Typically, a recruiter or employer will only spend 6 seconds looking over your resume. This means that you only have just a couple of seconds to grab their attention with a punchy line about your qualifications or accomplishments. The funny thing is, you spend so much time writing your resume and thinking about it for it just to be tossed into a pile if it doesn't say the right thing. For every 5 interviews, an employer may go through 100 resumes. That top half determines the interest to see you further. So you need to decide which pile your resume is going to be put in for further consideration or to be rejected. If you want that job, you need to ensure that your resume speaks volumes, because the likelihood that the employer will read down to learn about your biggest accomplishments at your last job are slim. The most successful resumes and job seekers are those who focus on the employer needs. We have a tendency to focus on what we have without even researching the company to see what their needs are. It's not a question of the employer matching what we have, but we should be looking to make sure that we offer value to the employer and what their current or future needs are. Find out what employers are looking for. You may want to explore the following resources to determine what employers are looking for, learn about career trends, and more. Pursue job boards and job ads. Study postings on job boards and ads in newspapers and journals and online using search engines. These tell you what skills, education, and other qualifications employers are looking for. Review the employer websites. Company websites can be a rich source of information. Along with job postings and other career information, you'll find information on a company's history, mission, and more. All of these things are important when it comes to the interview. Professional association websites and related publications are a great way to track trends in your field, learn what skills are in demand, and even view job postings. And also, the U.S. Department of Labor publishes 2 resources that are excellent sources of information for your resume: the Occupational Outlook Handbook and the ONET Online. Social networking sites also come into play. Tools like LinkedIn, Facebook, and Twitter are great for research. For example, you can use LinkedIn to research companies and hiring managers you've identified. As you research your job target, be sure to collect keywords from the various sources you explore. You can use these to appeal to employers in your resume, online profiles, and other documents. The content of your resume is by far the most important factor, but design is important too for a couple of reasons. Your resume must be easy to read, and good design makes that possible. Design calls attention to key sections of your resume, such as work experience and education. A well-designed resume reflects positively on your skills. If you are sloppy or careless in your design, you may give a negative impression, even if you're well qualified. If you have ever completed a resume just to be told you weren't qualified, it may mean that while in your head you know you meet the qualifications, you did not reflect it on your resume for the employer to see and connect with. There are several formatting techniques you can use to create a highly readable, attractive resume. Let's discuss. lot of white space makes text easier to read. Text that's too dense may discourage time-pressed readers from reading further. Some resume writers have a tendency to try and squeeze everything on one page. In so doing, they leave little white space or make the font so small that it makes it difficult to read. Bullets are another excellent resource. As bulleted list items serve as concise nuggets of information, they're best suited for chronological resumes and the work history section of a combination resume. While bullet points aren't forbidden in functional resumes, they're less suitable because these resumes are often compiled in paragraph form to de-emphasize potential gaps in work history. Bulleted text allows you to break down complex information into readable chunks and also highlight key points. Bullets are not always complete sentences. Should start all bullets with action verbs. You want a resume that portrays you as active, not passive, and you want your duties to sound as impressive as possible. Starting your duty and achievement descriptions with the best possible verb is key. Avoid responsible for, which is all over resumes, but sounds weak and is unnecessary. Good action verbs include developed, led, spearheaded, managed, created, initiated, transformed, rewrote, and oversaw. This gives the employer a picture of what you can do. Avoid duplications in the verbs and skills you choose to bullet. Use the correct verb tense. If it's a past job, all verbs should be past tense. If it's a current job, verbs should be present tense if it's a duty or achievement that is ongoing today, and past tense if it's completed and no longer part of your description. Give enough detail. Some people are guilty of not saying enough about their duties and achievements. Writing short bullets like maintain databases and provide help desk support. You need to turn those into longer bullets, either by adding to them or by combining them. You want to give the employer a visual of what your skills or benefits are. If something is or was a bigger part of your job, it should be its own bullet. If it's too short, ask yourself these questions. For whom did I do it? How many? Are there numbers involved? What types? For maintain databases, you might want to expand it to maintain 12 Oracle and 18 MySQL databases. If you have a few things on your list that are small parts of your job, try combining similar ones into a single bullet. Be concise. For most people, giving enough detail is not a problem. It's giving too much. Remember the goal of the resume, to get an interview. It's not to tell readers every detail about your day-to-day work or to tell them every step you went through to accomplish something. It is a highlight. Remember, the goal of the resume is to get face time with the employer. Tell them just enough they are curious and want to see you in person to learn more. Try to write bullets that are between 50 and 175 characters in length, including your spaces. Below 50 and you're probably not giving enough detail, or you're describing something that's not worthy of being a standalone bullet and should be combined with something else. Over 175 characters and you're probably giving too much detail, or you need to break it up into 2 bullets. So how do I format my bullets on my resume? If you move your cursor to the place where you want the bullet points to appear, click the Format menu on your taskbar and choose Paragraph from the menu. Go to the Spacing section and set the After setting to 12 points. This will insert a double space after each bullet point and make the resume easier to read. Then click OK. Bullets make it easy for recruiters and hiring managers to scan and evaluate your professional experiences, but they're only one tool at your disposal as a job applicant. If you want to draw the recruiter's attention, incorporate bullet points to relay your most compelling experiences, achievements, and skills. Once you get the interview, you can verbally expand on the bulleted points to wow the company with your expertise. Also use easy-to-scan headings. Your readers should be able to quickly locate key areas on your resume, such as education, without extensive searching. Limit your font to no more than 2 font styles, one for headings and the other for body text. More than that is distracting. And be selective on your use of bold. Use it carefully and consistently. For example, if you bold the name of one company you've worked for, do it in all cases. No underlining except links. Reserve your underlined text for web links. If you need to emphasize something, use bold or a different font size instead. And be consistent in your spacing. Use the same amount of space before and after headings between bullets. This gives your resume a uniform look. And if you choose to have printable resumes that you wish to hand out, use better quality paper than plain Xerox paper. Most office supply stores carry resume paper in neutral colors such as white, off-white, or pale gray. These are conservative colors that won't compete with the content of your resume. Let's talk about transferable skills. These can be used in a variety of jobs. They're often called universal skills and can transfer from one job to another. These are specific set of skills that don't belong to a particular niche, industry, or job. They're general skills that can be transferred between jobs, departments, and industries, hence the name. Employers often value these skills because they can be used in so many ways in the workplace. Transferable skills are those that you develop as you progress through employment, education, or training. Communication, problem solving, and teamwork are all examples of transferable skills because they can be used in any employed role, your education, or vocational training. As such, it is important that you emphasize your transferable skills throughout your application documents and during your interview. These skills can go a long way to persuading a potential employer that you are the perfect fit for their company, even if you don't necessarily have the experience. Your transferable skills are a major selling point. Make sure you know yours. An important part of what makes you valuable to an employer is your skill set. Transferable skills are used in many different careers and help make you an attractive job candidate. But identifying skills, especially the transferable ones, can be difficult. Not sure? To identify yours, take a skills assessment or try listing the key tasks from your previous jobs and highlight the verbs or action words you wrote down. Some examples of transferable skills include communication. An example of that would be writing, speaking, listening, using communication tools like email appropriately, critical thinking, which could include analysis, problem solving, strategic planning, decision making. Self-management could be a good time manager, show that you're organized, motivated, responsible, reliable. Get the point? And interpersonal, to understand and you can be supportive and assertive. Transferable skills are various abilities, knowledge, and behaviors that can apply to any type of work. Most soft skills are transferable skills because they are related to general work habits and your attitude toward coworkers and clients. Transferable skills such as teamwork and strategic thinking are highly flexible and sought out by employers and can be a benefit in your job regardless of the environment. Since no two jobs are the same, employers seek out candidates with transferable skills because they show that the applicant is flexible and adaptable. Highlight your transferable skills in your resume as well as during job interviews. Why are they so important? Because they help people advance in their careers or change jobs without having to learn a new system for interacting with others and completing their work. Having flexible work skills can make it easier to switch professions or gain experience in new work environments. They also help employers keep a high standard of behavior at their company by selecting employees that have an understanding of the workplace behaviors needed for success. Next, let's discuss accomplishments. How do I know what my accomplishments are? You can use these questions to start listing your accomplishments. Did you communicate well with customers and coworkers? Did you help keep customers by delivering great products and services? Did you bring in new business? Did you save time and money by making work more efficient? Your accomplishments show the employer what you can achieve. Think about what you did in past jobs. What problems did you solve? What solutions did you come up with? What benefits did this have for the business, customers, or employees? Or if you aren't sure, you can start with your last 2 to 3 jobs to identify your key accomplishments by using the CAR method, which simply means challenge, action, result, which asks 3 simple questions. What challenge did you face? What action did you take? And what was the result? So let's give an example. Let's say Beth Smith is an administrative assistant looking for work as a project coordinator. She has little experience as a project coordinator, but she was asked to take on a special project at her job as an administrative assistant. Her challenge was to look at the company's online project file system, which was disorganized and hard to use. The action she took was to analyze the system and reorganize it so information was more logically arranged and easier to find. The result was that she made coworkers work easier, which saved them time and allowed them to serve customers more effectively. So what could be entered on a resume as a bullet or as an accomplishment? You could say, led a project to streamline and reorganize the company's SharePoint project file system, making it easier and faster for employees to find information and serve customers. Simple, breaking it down by using the CAR method. Although it seems like common sense, having a rock-solid resume that includes all pertinent components is critical to landing your next job. Crafting an exceptional resume these days has the added challenge of attracting not only hiring managers, but the software bots doing their upfront work. Different formats can highlight either your work history or your skills. Different resume styles highlight different types of experience. Before you start writing, think about what format might best highlight your qualifications. There are 2 basic resume formats, chronological and functional. The main difference is the amount of emphasis on your job history compared to your skills. A chronological format highlights your employment history. This format can work if you have a solid work history in a particular job or career and you're planning on looking for a similar position. A functional format highlights your skills and can be easily effective to show how your skills transfer to a new career or industry. The best resumes are usually a combination of these formats, which now has emerged into a third type of resume called a combination resume. They communicate your strongest qualifications while providing employers with your employment history. And without a chronological work history, your resume may be rejected by applicant tracking systems, or ATS systems, which are used by many employers. In recent years, many companies have used applicant tracking systems, software to review job applications and make an initial sort of those to either send to human resources for review or to reject. So without realizing it, your resume may get bypassed without anyone really looking at it except the computer. This is why your design and format is very important. Companies now use ATSs on a regular basis to streamline their recruitment process, save time, track and keep record of the whole process, and provide analytics of the recruitment process. They also use ATS systems to post their jobs, review the resumes, and then schedule interviews. Once employers identify a job opening, they use ATS software to describe the skills, education, and training, years of experience, and other details they want in candidates for the position. As applications come in, the ATS scores each one and puts it in rank order based on how well it meets the employer's list of criteria. But unlike a human reader, the software is likely to reject resumes because qualified candidates fail to use the employer's chosen keywords, the system doesn't recognize unusual fonts or formatting, or candidates lack the preferred experience but may have qualifications that could make up for what's missing. So how do we get past the robots that have taken over in HR? Let's discuss these tips to improve the chances that your resume will pass through the system to be reviewed by human services staff. Use thoughtful, relevant keywords. Analyze the job posting to identify job requirement keywords, then use those exact terms in your resume. Any variation from what's written in the job posting may be missed. Aim to use each keyword twice. More is not helpful. Modify your resume keywords for different job openings. Ask someone in a similar job to check your terminology. Find people in similar jobs on LinkedIn and review their job postings. Check professional association websites and publications for ideas for keywords. And for additional keywords, review an occupation profile and check the knowledge, skills, and abilities. You want to make sure you follow the posting's instructions to the letter. Send only the documents requested by the posting and use the requested format. If no format is specified, use Word or plain text files. Avoid scanning resumes and sending them as an image. These will not be recognized. Prioritize formatting details. If a font is not specified, use a basic font such as Calibri, Arial, or Times New Roman. These are very easy to read, and use a font size of 11 or 12. 10 to 14 is generally okay. Bold and all capital letters are okay to use, but avoid using italics and underline. Bullet points are fine, but only use solid circles, open circles, or solid squares. Avoid graphics, logos, charts, tables, and columns. This will disrupt the ATS's ability to read the text. Lines and borders may be used as long as they do not touch any text. For your name and contact information, avoid extra spaces and special characters. For dates, use the standard format of month, day, year, or month and year. Avoid abbreviations of the year. When a job posting requests the day a past job began and ended, be sure to include one, even if you have to estimate it. Use margins of 1 inch on all sides. That's the typical. Putting extra keywords in a white font on your resume will not trick an ATS. Choose a resume style that's compatible with an ATS. A chronological work history with jobs listed in order by date should be used to ensure the ATS will successfully interpret it. While a functional resume may best highlight your transferable skills, it is likely to be rejected by an ATS. You can use a section such as highlights of qualifications or professional summary for transferable skills. Just include your work history as well. And then keep these general tips in mind. Customize your resume for each job application. In this case, one size does not fit all. Your resume length is average of 1 to 2 pages, and the general rule is to include your previous 10 years work history. If your most relevant experience is older, consider noting it in a professional summary or highlights section, but not in work history. ATS systems check both for your work experiences and the number of years on the job. When sending an email resume, follow the employer's instructions on how to submit your document. The employer may want your resume attached to the email message and sent in a specific format, typically as a Word document or a PDF. Always follow what the employer specifies. Send your attachments correctly and include all the information they require. And at the bottom, make sure you let the recipient know how to contact you. When formatting your resume, use a basic font that is easy to read, both for hiring managers and for applicant management systems. Many fonts make your resume clear and easy to read while retaining your individual style. When you're writing your resume, your font choice does matter. It's important to opt for a basic font. Choose one that both hiring managers and applicant management systems can easily read, as we discussed. Your resume is no place to use difficult to read cursive handwriting style or calligraphy fonts. There are a few reasons why it's important to keep the font on your resume simple. First of all, many of them are read by the applicant tracking systems and not by people. Those systems work best reading text rather than fancy formatting. It's not just the machines that benefit from easily readable text. Human eyes also find it easier. And don't make the size too small. Make it easy for hiring managers and potential interviewers to read through your entire resume. Choose a font size that's between 10 and 12. This will ensure that no one has to squint to read through all the information on this important document. Hiring managers and recruiters typically spend seconds glancing at each resume before moving it to the yes or no pile. Make your resume difficult to read, and you might wind up losing out on an opportunity that would have been perfect for you. Basic book print fonts like Arial, Verdana, Calibri, and Times New Roman work well. However, if you are applying to a position in graphic design or advertising where resume layout and design might be part of your assessment, employers might be open to alternative fonts. You can make section headers a little larger or bold. And don't forget about white space too. Keep margins a standard size. Make your name stand out. Your name, which should be placed at the top of your resume, can be slightly larger. And be consistent. Don't overuse capitalization, bold, italics, underlines, or other emphasizing features. Again, basic works best. Do be consistent in your formatting. For example, if you bold one section heading, bold them all. Make sure all your bullet points are indented the same amount and that alignment and spacing throughout is consistent. Hiring managers may read your resume on screen, but it's also quite likely that they'll print out a copy of your resume. So after you have selected a font and font size, it is always wise to print out a copy of your resume and review it. Take a look at your printed resume to see if it's easy to scan through. If you have to squint to read or find the font appears cramped, choose a different one or select a larger size. Bottom line, you want anyone who sees your resume to be able to easily read it. If you can read the document yourself and you're not using a novelty font like Comic Sans or a handwriting font, you've probably made a good choice. And don't get fancy. With a few exceptions, such as graphic design or advertising jobs, as we previously mentioned, it's best to keep your resume simple. Creative resumes may put off the hiring manager or get stuck in the applicant tracking system and never make it to a human person. Remember, the goal is to impress the reader with your skills and experience, not your resume style choices. Aiming for one page? Don't tweak your font size to meet your goal. Writing a resume isn't like writing an essay in school. You can't squeak in under the wire by making your font larger or smaller. Plus, resume length is less important than resume content. You can always develop a one-page version to hand out at networking events and job fairs, and keep the longer version for other job searching purposes. We are going to focus on three of the most common types of resumes. The most typical formats used today are the chronological resume, the functional resume, and the combination resume. So let's look at each one individually. The chronological resume is one of the most common resume formats, and there's a good reason for it. Employers tend to prefer it because it's straightforward and easy to scan. If you've never created a resume before and you're sitting down to build one from scratch, you probably have a chronological resume in mind. And while that might be the best choice for you, It's worth learning what chronological resumes do well and how to properly format one so that you can use this resume type to best advantage. The chronological resume focuses on offering information associated with the job seeker's work experience over time. The chronological resume provides the most recent job history first. Other job experiences are listed in reverse chronological order from most recent to the oldest. This type is the most commonly used. As its name implies, you list your achievements and work history from the present time to the past. This style stresses past work experiences and details the duties you have had in previous jobs. This is the more traditional style, but unless you are applying for the same type job, it is more difficult for an employer to pick out skills which transfer from one vocational area to another. A chronological resume is one of the most common resume formats, and there's a good reason for it. Employers tend to prefer it because it's straightforward and very easy for them to scan and read. It lists your work history in order of date with the most current on top. It might include a resume objective or career summary before the list of work experiences. And note, it's important to get the facts straight when you're listing your work experience so that the employer won't think you are lying on your resume should they decide to do a background check. Make sure that the dates, job titles, salary history if it's included, are accurate before you submit your resume and application, and that the application and resume match with your dates. Education, certifications, and special skills follow work experience in this type of resume. When should I use a chronological resume? As it emphasizes work history, the chronological resume is most effective for candidates with a solid work experience in the field. By showcasing your work history front and center, you immediately show the employer that you have related experience and skills. But there are also times when you shouldn't use a chronological resume, and although they prefer it, there are a few examples. When you're just beginning your career, the chronological resume format will not work well if you are new to the workforce. You may have all the skills required and applicable experience outside the realm of paid work, such as volunteering and internships. But if you choose a chronological resume, the hiring manager will only see your lack of paid work experience, not your abilities. In this case, a functional resume, which emphasizes skills over the linear job experience, will help you make your case. If you're changing careers, many employers will put your resume in the no pile if they see that you do not have directly relevant work experience. Choose another style, such as a functional resume that focuses on your skills and experience, or a combination resume which lists both your skills and your work history. When you have gaps in your work history, a chronological resume may not be your best friend. Maybe you've been unemployed for a long period of time, or have taken time out of the workforce to care for young children or ailing family members. Regardless of why you've been out of the workforce, choosing a format that displays what you can do rather than your work history will help you make the best impression. However, you still will need to explain to an employer during an interview about your gaps in the work history. You cannot just make them go away. When you frequently change jobs, a chronological resume will point that out. Employee loyalty is a thing of the past, and for good reason. Very few employers keep workers for the whole of their careers anymore. However, too many job changes can look bad to hiring managers who don't want to invest time and money training an employee who's going to jump ship. If you have a history of job hopping, a chronological resume probably isn't the best fit. A functional resume focuses on your skills and experience rather than on your chronological work history. It is typically used by job seekers who are changing careers, who have gaps in their employment history, or whose work history is not directly related to the job. In this way, specific skills and capabilities are emphasized to highlight the job seeker's abilities. Let's look at some tips for writing a functional resume. Consider a resume summary. Consider including a resume summary at the beginning of your resume that focuses on the skills you have that are relevant to the job. This is a great way to shape the way the employer sees you and your resume at first glance. Organize it by theme. This means simply when writing a functional resume, organize your resume by themes rather than simply listing your jobs in reverse chronological order. These themes might be skills or qualifications listed in the resume. For example, recruiting experience and customer service experience. By grouping your skills together, the employer can more easily see that you have the right skills for the job, even if your work history is less than stellar or less related to the job at hand. And use keywords. Be sure to use keywords from the job description in your resume. You might use these keywords as the titles for your subheadings or in the bulleted list where you describe your skills and accomplishments in more detail. This will help the employer see that your abilities match well with job requirements. And mention relevant projects. Also remember to include any projects, personal or professional, that are related to the job. Projects demonstrate your success in developing and completing tasks. Still include your employment history. No matter what, you will likely still need to include employment history. Include this at the bottom of your resume so that the employer will focus more on your skills rather than your work history. And then finally, write a strong cover letter. Include a strong cover letter to go with your resume. Use this cover letter to expand on the skills and abilities you have that make you a strong candidate for the position. This will help lessen any concerns the employer might have about your work history. Functional or skills resumes focus on the skills that the customer has gained over time. Such resumes actually start with skills that are relevant to the job. Functional resumes can be very useful if the job seeker has extensive experience in a specific occupation or industry. Functional resumes are also very helpful if the job seeker has a gap in employment or other issues that would stand out in a chronological resume. Job seeker's most recent work experience is simply listed after the job seeker's strengths and abilities have been highlighted in the document. This resume emphasizes your transferable skills and abilities. This style also stresses work skills and strengths. It provides accurate work history too, but does not focus on jobs you have had in the past. It clearly points out what you can offer the employer. Defines your transferable skills, skills gained in other types of work which can transfer to a new job area. In this way, specific skills and capabilities are emphasized to highlight the job seeker's abilities. This is different from a traditional chronological resume that displays a timeline of reverse work experience with brief explanations of each job. As a result, the focus shifted from job titles and the amount of time that has passed to the actual skills the applicant possesses now. Since a functional resume focuses on skills over dates, it's ideal for candidates who have gaps, are early in their careers, or are only internship-based experience, or are making a career switch. A functional resume is less commonly used than a chronological resume, which lists a candidate's work history beginning with the most recently held position. Recruiters and interviewers prefer this format, so if you do not have a reason for using a functional resume, opt for a chronological one. One other option is the combination resume, which offers the best of both worlds. On a combination resume, your skills are highlighted first and then followed by your work history. What's a combination resume and when should you use one? A combination resume is ideal for people who want to emphasize their skills over their work history. A combination resume is a format that marries the best aspects of a chronological resume format and a functional resume format. A chronological resume focuses on the candidate's work experience, a functional resume on skills. A combination resume uses both work history and skills to capture the employer's attention. There are some advantages to using a combination resume. It works well for job seekers with a significant amount of job history and who also have strong abilities and accomplishments. This allows the experienced job seeker to keep their resume within 1 to 2 pages. Recruiters welcome the combination resume format for senior executive positions that require highly specialized skills. It is easy to identify these skills while also confirming that the candidate has the required work experience for the job at hand. This format is suitable for job seekers who want to change careers and have worked for well-known companies. It can also be used to showcase transferable skills and emphasize outstanding employment history. When a candidate has worked for the same employer or held the same position for a long time, the combination format will highlight the candidate's expertise and achievements. But there are a few disadvantages. Combination resumes can become longer than other formats. Repetition may be another issue. You need to be on guard for this. Career changes, job hopping, and employment gaps are much more noticeable in the work history section. A combination resume is ideal for people who want to emphasize their skills over their work history. They can be used to show an employer your most relevant skills, qualifications, and experience, but still document your work history. This resume format is also a good way of answering the reader's questions about career changes, those employment gaps, and other potential red flags. Perhaps you've recently changed occupations and much of your job history no longer reflects your career direction. Professionals are changing career fields now at an unprecedented rate, seeking pay raises, better benefits, or increased job security. A combination resume enables you to emphasize the skills you've acquired without calling attention to your pivot. You might also find yourself looking for a job while unemployed or with a long gap in employment on your resume. In this case, the combination resume enables you to highlight what you can do now, not what you've done in the past. This can help you overcome employers' general bias against hiring workers with employment gaps. A combination resume lists your skills and qualifications first. Your employment history is listed next in reverse chronological order, beginning with your current or most recent job and then working back through earlier positions. Time for some tips when writing combination resumes. When you use a combination resume, you can showcase the skills that you have that are relevant to the job for which you're applying, while also providing the work history that employers have requested. Also note, a combination resume enables you to emphasize the skills you've acquired without calling attention to your pivot or gaps. Thirdly, if you have recent professional training that's relevant to your career change, consider positioning the education section of your resume on page 1, immediately after the qualification summary and before your work history. When should I use a combination resume? This format often offers the best of both worlds for job seekers who might prefer to present their resume in a functional format, emphasizing their skills and qualifications, but who have been instructed by the employer to include a work history. For those who wish to avoid a traditional chronological resume, either because of unrelated jobs or employment gaps, this is a good compromise. The combination resume is typically sectioned into 2 parts. The first part is similar to a functional resume in that it highlights skills, achievements, and qualifications. The second part depicts the timeline of one's work experience. The layout first captures the attention of the employer or recruiter by highlighting the key skills and capabilities of the applicant in a qualification summary, and then supports this introductory section with an account of prior work history. The qualification summary is also a good place to include resume keywords that will help keep your resume get past its initial review by an automated applicant tracking system and in front of the human eye of a hiring manager. It can be especially effective in this format to divide the descriptions of your work experience into related work experience and additional professional experience sections. This allows you to focus your reader's attention on your most relevant experience while at the same time providing a complete work history. Let's take a quick minute to look at other styles of resumes that are trending right now. Targeted resumes. What are targeted resumes and why should job seekers use them? A targeted resume focuses on a specific job opening. The targeted resume is written to highlight the skills and experiences relevant to a particular position. When sending targeted resumes, the resume will be edited or rewritten for each job to which the candidate applies. Also, a targeted cover letter is typically written to accompany the resume when applying for jobs. Adapting your resume for each position you apply for takes some time and effort, but it helps to make it very clear to hiring managers and whoever else sees your resume that you're a good fit for the position. Be aware that the more you tweak and adjust a resume, the higher your risk of introducing an error or typo. Always proofread carefully before sending your resume to an employer. Since any revisions take time, be certain that the job is indeed a good match and that the company is likely to be receptive to your application before spending time personalizing your resume for a particular position. The first step is to review the job description carefully so that you can be sure the position is a good match for you and know which qualities and skills to emphasize on your resume. The easiest way to target your resume without rewriting the whole resume is to include a resume summary of qualifications, a profile, or career highlights section at the top of your resume. Review the job description and then review your resume. Take the experience, credentials, and education that best match the job posting and include them in the summary of qualifications section at the top of your resume. Then list your experience in reverse chronological order, just like you would on a traditional resume. In a high competition environment, some job seekers are turning to tools like infographic resumes to stand out from the crowd. Should you have an infographic resume? The best answer is, it depends. Generally speaking, you should only create an infographic resume if you have the resources, either your skills and expertise or the ability to hire a designer to pull off an exceptional final product. Anything subpar will only harm your job search, especially because in the vast majority of cases, infographic resumes are not required. And keep in mind, an infographic resume may not make it through an ATS system. Generally speaking, unless requested, hiring managers prefer traditional resumes over infographic resumes. Unless you are a design professional, it can be really hard to pull off a great infographic resume, and sending in a not so great one is likely to do more damage than good. Another major downside of an infographic resume is that it can be missed in the job application process, as a company's application tracking system, which automatically scans resumes for keywords, may not be able to recognize text in your infographic resume. Video resumes. A video resume is a short video created by a candidate for employment and uploaded to the internet or emailed to a hiring manager for prospective employers to review. In the video, the candidate shares detailed information about their skills and experience. Typically, this video is used to supplement, not replace, a paper resume. As with a print resume, it's possible for the video resume to be either general or targeted toward a particular position or company. It can be created by a professional for you, or you can create your own. Some job search and networking sites provide a means for users to incorporate video resumes into their profiles. Creating a video resume is an optional task for job seekers. It's quite rare for companies to require or request a video resume from candidates. A Robert Half survey reports that most companies, 78%, prefer traditional resumes, either a Word document or a PDF. Only 3% were interested in video resumes or infographics. For some job seekers, particularly ones in visual or creative fields, a video resume can highlight valuable skills. For instance, a video resume is useful for showing any type of performance-based work, whether it involves acting on stage, teaching a class, or presenting quarterly numbers. Also, a video resume can be an excellent way to show off your personality. For people in client-facing roles whose work involves charming prospective buyers, a video resume may be beneficial. However, if your role is not very visual, then a video resume might not help further your candidacy. You should also be mindful that it's easy to miscalculate in a video resume. That is, there's a high risk of the script, filming style, or location being inappropriate. Because so much of the job search process is online, you need to be prepared to design a resume that works for the web. How to send resumes as emails and email attachments, and how to upload your resume to various job search sites and company sites. Employers care whether or not you follow directions, and they generally want employees who are technology savvy. Therefore, make sure you can do all of these things without any problems. Some job search engines allow you to create a resume using their own resume builders. These walk you through the process of creating your resume section by section and formatting it. For example, job seekers who use Employ Florida can create a resume online in a variety of formats, including Word, PDF, RTF, TXT, and HTML. Once you have created a resume using a job search engine, Resume Builder, the site will allow you to share it with employers on the same job search engine. When you apply for jobs on the site, you only need to click on the saved resume you created on the site. Make sure you download a version of the resume you create online. This way, you will have a version on your computer. You can use and edit even when you are not online. You then can email and print your resume to share it with employers and networking contacts at any time. You may need to upload your resume online for a variety of reasons during your job search, and each reason might require a slightly different strategy for uploading the document. However, some job sites don't let you play with the formatting of the text in the text box. In that case, don't worry about what it looks like because it will be consistent with the other resumes in the database. If you do not paste your resume, you will have to upload it. Typically, you will see a button that says Upload or Upload Resume. Click this button and then click through your computer folders and files to find your resume wherever you have it saved on your computer. Sites typically will list the file formats they accept, so be sure your resume is saved in one of those formats before uploading. Although most companies will be able to handle your resume in Word format, occasionally you may need to have a plain text resume that's been stripped of formatting. To create one, follow these steps. Copy your resume into a plain text editor like Notepad, which should be available as an accessory on your computer. Most of the formatting should be gone. Change any remaining bullets to asterisks and space once after the asterisk. For your main section headings, such as work experience, change to all caps so the headings stand out. Add spacing between sections as necessary for readability. If you are working in Microsoft Office, when you go to save, you can save it as a plain text resume. To attach your resume, click the Upload or Attach Files button on your email message. On some email platforms, this button is a picture of a paperclip. Click the button and then click through your computer folders and files to find your resume. If the employer has requested that attachments be in a certain file format, be sure to upload your resume in that format. You usually want to avoid copying and pasting your resume in an email unless specifically asked to do this. It often looks messy and unprofessional. Also, without a message attached to the email, the employer will not know why you are sending the resume to him or her, and it also may be blocked by a firewall. It's important to have a professional resume that is easy to read and successfully highlights your skills and experience. But when saving a resume file for uploading, it's also important to make sure it is easily accessible for potential employers. Think about the resume title. Whether you upload your resume as an email attachment or on a job search site, the employer will see the title of your resume. A good title will simply include your name in the title of the job for which you are applying. Another option is to include your desired title or career field in a very brief 3 to 5 word summary of what makes you a strong candidate. For example, your title could be HR Manager, 10 years experience. This would be a good place to list your brand. Avoid generic titles like resume, or even worse, resume 2, which implies you are applying to so many jobs that you can't keep track of all your materials. Make sure the document can be opened. Follow any directions the employer or website ask about what format your resume should be in. Make sure to follow directions to avoid annoying an employer. Think about the level of privacy you want. If you are uploading a resume to a job search site, you likely will be asked whether or not you want the resume to be posted publicly. The benefit of a public resume is that employers can see your resume and can reach out to you if they think you might be a good fit for a job. However, if you are still at your current job and don't want your employer to know about your job search, make your resume private. When it is private, only you can decide which employers see your job materials. Make sure the format is consistent. When you upload a document online, there is always a risk that the formatting will change. Always look at a preview of the downloaded document before publishing or emailing it. Make sure the format is consistent and that there are no awkward gaps between pages or changes in font or style. Both a cover letter and a resume share the common purpose of proving that you have the right skills to excel at the job for which you are applying. However, there are clear distinctions between the structure and intent of the two documents. Many employers require that a resume is submitted with a job application. A cover letter may not be required, but including one when you apply for a job can help your chances of getting selected for an interview. Job seekers should view their cover letter and resume as a complementary but unique pair of documents. That is, your cover letter should be more than just bullet points restated from the resume. A resume is the document that itemizes your employment history. It summarizes the jobs you have held, the education you have attained, certifications, skills, and other quantifiable information about your background and work experience. Your cover letter is a summary of your work experience as it relates to the job at hand. A cover letter is written to highlight the qualifications you have for the job for which you are applying. It is used to provide the employer with additional information as to why you are a good candidate for the job. The main function of your cover letter is to show off how your qualification makes you a match for the job. Cover letter is written in a letter format including a salutation or greeting, several paragraphs, and a closing. Unlike a resume, you should use the first person to write your cover letter. That said, avoid using I too much. The most common resume format is a list with your contact information and experience section that includes job titles, position descriptions, dates of employment, and education section, and other relevant information. Typically, the resume is written in the third person and uses as few words as possible to summarize the experience. So instead of writing, I supervised the large buying team at XYZ company, a resume would have a bullet point that says, supervised 19-person buying team. Let's look at another resume writing tip. Whenever possible, you want to use numbers on your resume, such as the number of people you supervised, percent sales increase, the number of customers helped, etc. Let's look at the difference between resumes and cover letters. A resume should provide employers with a detailed list of your work experience and education. The skills and accomplishments associated with each job you have held should be described in enough detail to show employers how you have added value in those specific roles. A cover letter is a short 3 or 4 paragraph document. It should be written with the assumption that employers will consult your resume to match it to the statement you are making in the letter about your qualifications. A cover letter will help employers to interpret your background as represented on the resume and will help prove how your previous experiences qualify you for a job. Often resumes provide information in bulleted lists. This helps the document be concise and allows recruiters to scan through it quickly. When you are writing a cover letter for a job, first review the job requirements that are detailed in the job posting. Use your cover letter to explain how you meet those criteria. Let's look at how we would go about crafting a cover letter. The main purpose of a cover letter is to interest the employer in reading your resume. This diagram shows the desired sequence from cover letter to interview. The cover letter should be used to explain to the recipient why you're writing. Are you replying in response to an ad? Were you referred to the recipient? Did you read some news about the recipient or the company that suggested they might be hiring? What's the situation? Second, describe how your qualifications match the opportunity. Related to what you know about the employer's needs, what can you offer? Make reference to your resume, but don't just repeat what's there. Elaborate and expand as needed. And third, explain how you intend to follow up. It's the sender's responsibility, yours, to follow up after sending a resume. In the last paragraph of the letter, say how and when you intend to contact them. A resume states the facts: who, what, when, and how. In contrast, a cover letter provides an opportunity to explain why you are qualified for the job. This document adds a bit of color and personality and is intended to persuade employers that you're a good fit for the position at hand. Cover letter is a better vehicle than a resume to convey more subjective information, like the basis of your interest in a position, how your values motivate you to pursue a job, or why the culture of a company appeals to you. Your cover letters will help you sell your qualifications to prospective employers, while your resume provides the details to back up the information included in your letters. Most cover letters involve 3 steps. Explain why you're writing, refer to your qualifications, and close with a suggested plan of action. As a general rule, only 1 paragraph would be required for steps 1 and 3, while step 2 might involve 2 or more paragraphs. The letter itself should not exceed 1 page. An email cover letter must do the same job as the regular cover letter. However, since it's likely to be read online, it's important to be brief. The bottom line: communicate what you have to offer that can be beneficial to the reader. Let's get started. Let's put the pieces together to see how your resume reads and start sharpening it. Begin by assembling the basic sections of your resume. Don't worry about the order or wording. Just get information down. Consider this a brainstorming session. This is where you want to write down everything that you did on your jobs. The number 1 mistake most job seekers make in writing a resume is they try and edit the resume before they write down all of their skills. Use whatever writing tool works best for you, whether it's a pen and paper or word processing on your computer or a laptop or a tablet, whatever works for you, and use more concise language than usual. Make sure everything you include in your resume is relevant to the position, down to your word choice. Because many employers use an applicant tracking system, as we've discussed, to screen job application materials, try to use keywords from the application in your resume. This will increase your chances of making it past the first round of resume reviews. Writer's block is a common problem when writing a resume. The solution: expect to write a messy draft first and plan to edit it later. Here are some tips to getting started. Create an inventory. If you're struggling to pare down your resume to 1 page, start by creating an inventory of your accomplishments and work activities. List your responsibilities and your achievements in great detail. Your inventory document might span as many as 3 or 4 pages or longer. Try to include a diverse spectrum of skills that have led to successes in each role. Match your qualifications to the job. Analyze each job that you are considering and circle the statements that correspond most closely to the requirements for that particular position. Piece together the most relevant statements into a shorter, targeted version of your resume. Start long and cut back. The first draft might be longer than 1 page. If so, try to eliminate statements that provide less significant evidence regarding how you would add value to the role until you get down to 1 page. Try to be as specific as possible with the information you list and be as concise as you can in your writing. Use a bulleted list and keep your job descriptions concise. Focus on your accomplishments, not your daily responsibilities. Cut out any extra years. Even if you are an experienced candidate, you should include no more than 10 or 15 years of experience on your resume. Trim the education section. You don't need to include high school education or continuing ed classes unless it enhances your candidacy. Skip the references. It's no longer necessary to say references available upon request on your resume. It's understood that you will provide references if required as part of the job application process. You want to make sure you use more concise language than usual. What does this mean on a resume? Here are some examples. Instead of saying, I suggested new rules for our filing system, what if you said, establish new rules for filing system? And what if you said, instead of saying, I was able to finish everything on time and under budget, you wrote, completed project on time and under budget. You're saying the same thing, but only using the words to convey the highlighted pieces of the sentence. What ideas for strong verbs do you use in your resume? Enter the phrase resume verbs without the quote marks in Google. This will bring up a list of resume verbs that you can use to get started in writing your resume. To show employers what you're capable of, don't forget to include transferable skills and accomplishments. Make good use of keywords, integrating information you've gathered in your research. Don't forget to be specific. Finally, remember that your resume is a marketing tool, and you are the product. Don't be afraid to promote your unique brand. You're ready to edit and proofread your resume. Take time every time you send a resume to be sure it's flawless. Once you have a solid draft resume in place, the next stage is revision. Ideally, you'll have time to put the draft away for a day so you can view it with fresh eyes. Use this checklist to improve your resume and find related information on planning, researching, and writing your resume. Get general feedback on your resume. After you edit your resume, ask someone with work experience you trust to read and comment on it. Do they get your brand? Does your resume do a good job of selling your qualifications for the job target you're after? Is it easy to read and understand? Proofread, proofread, proofread. Even if you are a terrific candidate for the job, nothing will get your resume tossed into the no pile faster than careless typos. So proofread your resume several times yourself and have at least one other person proofread it as well. Once you've done the appropriate revision and quality checks, it's time to market your resume to prospective buyers. In summary, most employers still want a resume from job applicants. It's true that recruiters can now Google you as part of their search process, and tools like LinkedIn do allow you to create something similar to a resume, but you still need a resume, and here's why. Your resume serves a different purpose than an online profile. Its main purpose is to get you an interview. Your LinkedIn profile is first and foremost a networking tool. It has a long tradition other tools don't. Resumes have been used for years and are an expected part of the job search process. You'll almost always be asked for one. It's more flexible than other tools. While there's a lot you can do with an online profile, a resume is still easier to target to a specific job or opportunity. It's more portable than online profiles. When you're networking or at a job fair, for example, it's nice to have a document you can pull out and share with others. It may offer a more fair and objective screening process. Because online profiles can contain photos and other personal content, the review process may be more biased. As you can see, your resume remains a key marketing document and an essential part of your job search toolkit. In fact, the work you do in preparing it will serve you well in all your job search activities, from networking to interviews and beyond. Thank you for participating in this basic resume guide training, and now go out there and get that job.